Welcome to the Snooze Strategists, where we talk about designing work and life around your energy levels so you can work less, have bigger impact, and be healthier. In this episode, snooze or lose, the telltale signs of a sleep disorder you shouldn't ignore. So, big question for you, Ashen, is very simply, what is a sleep disorder?
Great question. Sleep disorder is a condition that stops someone from having a good quality sleep overnight and cause excessive daytime sleepiness. Simple as that.
Okay. And what's the difference between a sleep disorder and, we've been talking a lot about inadequate sleep, and in the last episode we talked a little bit about the symptoms. What is the difference between a sleep disorder and that inadequate sleep?
Look, sometimes it can be a bit hard to differentiate the two. One thing, so sleep disorder, people with sleep disorders will definitely have some of the symptoms we discussed last time. They'll feel sleepy during daytime. They can have mood issues. But on top of that, there's two subgroups of the sleep disorders. One would not get enough sleep. So they want to sleep more, but they can't. Most of the time, these groups will struggle to fall asleep, or they will fall asleep and then wake up during the night and can't go to sleep. The last group of that, they'll have enough, they'll have 8 hours of sleep if you just count the time they went to bed and wake up. But the quality of the sleep so bad, they actually don't get the physiological sleep, good physiological sleep. The other group, they sleep too much, so they can sleep so much because they don't get good quality sleep during night, or during daytime they have extremely high drive to sleep, so they'll sleep 12, 14, 15 hours a day, and that kind of changes, disrupts their functions. So if you either sleep too little or too much, probably a sign that you have a sleep disorder.
So these are clearly debilitating symptoms. So you will absolutely know something's not right. Is this something that you have from birth, or does this occur, just out of the blue?
I think certain things would occur almost out of nowhere, or gradually develop that you may not notice straight away. There's a great story where I was working in a sleep lab. I think I had people saying, "Oh, you snore," but I was like, "Oh, everyone snores, no big deal." So I was testing one of the equipment. So I was the guinea pig and kind of figuring out whether the quality is good or not. And so I slept in a hospital just with all those wires to make sure it's fine. Next morning, when I check all the data from the previous night, I realized I actually have sleep apnea. So I just discovered by accident, and then I had this light bulb moment. All the things I was feeling in the last few months is a result of this, caused by the sleep apnea. When I drive, I was dozing off quite regularly in the morning. I was really grumpy. I was get irritated and feeling down. So sometimes you will not notice that because things will gradually come up. And most of the time, I think adults would develop these things out of nowhere. So it's good to keep in check. We can have a discussion on what are the things that you should probably keep an eye for.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great example. Even an expert can't tell.
That's right. Yeah,
I think that goes back to why you need others around you.
That's right.
The support sort of system, just generally, for any healthy individual, is really valuable, isn't it?
Absolutely, that's right. And the other thing is that self-awareness, also the bit of the ego comes into play. I think at times humans don't like to feel they are weak. Having a disorder or a medical condition means you are weak, right? So there's always that we try to say no. We will have that strong belief that nothing's wrong with us. I'm fine, so you would ignore as long as you can.
Yeah. So what was your reaction when was it your colleagues that let you know?
No, I was. I think one of my colleagues mentioned something, but when I was fortunate enough to analyze my own data, so it was just right in front of me. a great wake up call for myself to fix that. And as soon as I got on a treatment, it really changed my life.
So we will talk a little bit about like where do you go for help, but is there like a little short list that you'd have in your head around what are these telltale signs? Like assuming that there's a sense of inadequate sleep, but are there things that people should consider for themselves as, okay, these are a few things that we should look into?
Yeah, and all the signs and symptoms we discussed in the previous episode, where if they're long lasting, if you're feeling those things for a year, a few months, definitely seek some help. Speak to someone and figure out whether it's caused by a physiological condition or not. But on top of that, snoring, most of the time it's a good indicator something's wrong with your breathing. I'm not going to go into like what these are, but snoring, if you see your bed partner snores, and maybe just have a chat and see, go to GP and have a look. The other thing is, if you notice your bed partner stops breathing, that's a good indicator that you should go and get some medical help. So those two often go hand in hand. Other than that, movements is a big thing. I have seen a lot of people keep moving their legs during the night like that, and that kind of keeps them up at night, or they make them tired. And some people have trouble falling asleep because they have this condition called restless legs. So they really want to shake their legs in the second half of the day, closer to the night time. They really want to kind of shake. I mean, there are habitual shakers, but if that's not you, and you recently, it's something you happened recently, and you really want to keep shaking your legs a lot at night, that can disrupt falling asleep part of things. So definitely worth speaking to a doctor and get some help. And then there's whole lot of like sleep talking, nightmares. You may not notice these things. That's if you have a bed partner or a friend you have seen that you're sleeping and making noises or doing things. It's worth speaking to a doctor to make sure that you don't cause any harm to yourself or to your bed partner. I think one of the biggest issues you probably have noticed as well, and I have had a lot of friends talking about this, where they can't fall asleep. So there's a whole cluster of different conditions known as insomnia, which doesn't necessarily mean you can't fall asleep, but some people can fall asleep. They can't remain asleep. So if you have trouble falling asleep, or it takes more than 20-30 minutes, definitely worth having a chat. And if it's ongoing as well, so I'm not talking about just kind of once off thing where you just can't fall asleep for half an hour, but if it's ongoing, worth having a chat to someone, because these things can have quality of life issues. And I guess lastly, sleep doesn't necessarily impact just that overnight portion. There's a daytime portion as well. I would definitely encourage, if you sleep really long time, or you want to have really long, not necessarily naps, but sleeps during daytime, probably worth having a chat to someone and see if everything's okay, or whether there's some sort of physiological conditions happening there.
That's a wide range of things.
Yeah, that's right. I think you definitely need a bit of help from someone else. That could be, because most of the time, if you snore, you don't realize you're snoring. Someone else realize it and kind of have a chat to you about that. So
on snoring, like we all just want to dig into that a little bit more, because I'm using an app at the moment called Sleep Cycle. It's recording me while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, sure.
I do snore, and I know I snore because my wife tells me I snore, and my kids tell me I snore. But is that a bad thing?
No, look, snoring itself is not a bad thing. Snoring is just a vibration of soft tissue. But most of the sleep apnea sufferers
Mm.
do snore. So it can be an indicator of sleep apnea.
Okay.
If you snore and if you have trouble staying awake during daytime, or you are quite tired during daytime,
Mm.
you're quite sleepy during daytime, I think it's worth having a look and figuring out what's going on. Back in the day, sleep apnea is purely associated with like obesity, or
Mm.
if you're basically if you're fat, you have sleep apnea, that sort of thing. But times have
Okay.
changed. A lot of research coming up. It's not necessarily body weight causing it. There are other conditions within the body that can cause sleep apnea. And the other thing, if someone has noticed you stop breathing, and on top of that you're snoring, there's a high chance that you may have sleep apnea.
Okay. Okay.
Snoring itself is not a bad thing, and sometimes if you have a
Mm.
drink or if you're really tired, you snore too much. Look, that's okay. But
Yeah.
if it's recurring snoring, quite loud, and
Mm.
also if it impacts your bed partner, sometimes one person snores a lot and it impacts the other person, probably worth just having a chat to someone about it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And as you mentioned there, do you where should I go for help? Well, not me, but where would you, if you had a concern,
Yeah,
where would you recommend is
I
the
think
first port of call?
yeah, so most of our listeners are from Australia. So in Australia, GP is your go-to place. Just speak to your GP and say, this, I snore at night a lot and I'm really tired during daytime.
Mm.
What can I do? Because I do recommend to go and see a sleep physician, but to get there, you need GP's referral. So that's a pathway. So definitely seek attention or consultation from a sleep doctor. That will help you to figure out the right management plan. I know there are a lot of online services or pharmacies now do sleep tests. Um, I strongly recommend not to go ahead with those, because a lot of the time people who manage these things don't have the clinical experience to figure out or provide you the right advice. So
Mm.
it can be an easy and quick way. It can be a relatively cheaper way, but I would definitely encourage you to go and speak to your GP, get a referral, see a sleep doctor, and then address those issues.
Okay. And are those, I mean, particularly here in Australia, will those be covered by Medicare? That sort of consultations?
So most of the GPs obviously are covered by the Medicare, but now I think there's a change or shift in the ecosystem where there's gap payments are implemented in most GP practices. But when you sleep tests, most public hospitals offer them. They are covered by Medicare rebates, so you don't have to pay anything. When you go and see a private sleep physician, there will be an out-of-pocket cost. It varies by the doctor,
Mm.
but
Okay.
there's an expectation for you to pay.
Yep.
You can go to a public hospital straight away, but waiting lists are, in Australia, is
Mm.
incredibly long. If you are a bit impatient like me or want to get things done quicker, probably the pathway to go and see a private sleep doctor
Oh,
with an
okay.
out-of-pocket cost. But the
Mm.
sleep testing can be done in places with Medicare rebates, so you don't have to pay for the
Okay.
testing portion of things.
Yep. Okay. No, it's handy to know. And I gather from a workplace perspective, uh, this could be quite a valuable activity, if not critical activity, because depending on your work, whether you're sitting at a desk or driving a truck, right?
Yeah,
Talked
that's
about
right.
shift workers as well. It may actually massively impact your ability to work at all, let alone be productive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it will definitely impact the productivity or efficiency of your
Mm.
work. And the other thing, which I'm quite passionate and concerned about for people, the quality of life issues.
Mm.
If you have a sleep condition, there's a lot of published data to suggest that there are mental health implications. Your mood could
Mm.
be low, your energy could be low, you will feel anxious and stressed all the time. Um, that can really impact the quality of life you're having. And on the other hand, if you don't sleep at night well, if you drive a truck or even your car to work, there's a chance of the motor vehicle accidents. That's just, and it's not worth the risk. Simple test can figure out whether something's wrong or not. So yeah, don't take that risk and make sure you do the right thing.
Okay, that's a good point. So this is really good, just in terms of we've covered kind of both hemispheres in terms of the inadequate sleep, and the impact to workplace there is significant alone. But if you've actually got a sleep disorder, that can be critical to your work. So seek advice, but also talk to others around you. Just if you've got an inkling, something that you've heard today that you've got an inkling of, okay, maybe that sounds like me, maybe it's worthwhile getting it checked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely make that action. Don't procrastinate on that one.
Yes. Cool. Yeah. Any last words just in terms of what else should people consider with regards to these sleep disorders? And we'll have some show notes below. Is there anything else that we should keep in mind?
I think you can monitor your sleep and see whether you got enough sleep. I personally am not a big fan of all the devices, the Fitbits and the wearables, because problem with gamifying sleep is you get hooked into that data a bit too much, and that can cause a bit of stress and anxiety within you. Oh, I'm not having enough sleep. But whether it's manual recording of the time you go to sleep or waking up, that data may help you to have a rough idea what kind of sleep you're getting and what's enough for you. Perhaps don't keep Googling and try to fix yourself. Most of the time that doesn't work. Things you read, tools you get without clinical experience, really hard to apply correctly to yourself. And if you, just like Alex said before, once things we have mentioned in this episode, if you feel like, oh, that's me, perhaps go and have a chat to your GP and go through the right pathway.
While YouTube channels may not be the ultimate source for medical information, definitely if this is something that sounds like you, then this is a valuable thing for you to sort of investigate further. Cool. Thanks for that, Ashen. And that's it for today's episode, fellow Snooze strategists. We hope you found our tips valuable in helping you to create a more restful and productive work environment, if not home as well. And before you doze off, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you want to keep getting free tips, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Until then, we're Alex and Ashen, your trusty Snooze strategists, reminding you to catch those Z's and keep dreaming of a well-rested world. So sweet dreams, and see you next time.